Hey YouTube, Billy Rideshare Driver coming at you live. It's Friday, the 4th of May. I decided to go out after the little fiasco last weekend. I'm going to go out for a while, drive a little bit, meet a few people, and hopefully make some money. Now, better turn that radio down. We can't have YouTube spanking me for copyright. So, the whole Uber drivers sexual harassment controversy story that CNN ran a couple days ago has kind of hit the local news here in Hillbillyville. I was a little bit surprised because usually news, stuff like that, will sometimes get a mention or a little blurb across the bottom of the screen during, news or something of that nature, but it was their top story, which strikes me as odd, because it really isn't, well, I guess you could classify it as local news if you wanted to, but I'm sure there are other things more interesting. And I say that, I'm not discounting the people who felt or were actually sexually assaulted or harassed. I'm not discounting that at all. Whatever it is, if it's true, it's unacceptable. Now, with that said, I'm going to play the devil's advocate for a few moments. The report, I believe, was reported 108 drivers sexual harassment, however you want to classify it. Some of those the word assault has really lost. It's been used so much for so many things that anything from something someone says that you don't care for, or that someone doesn't care for, or is misconstrued in people's minds is assault. On this earth for 53 years, over 53 years. It takes a lot more than words to assault me. Now, I don't know, I'm not sure, I haven't really looked into a lot of the details. I was just kind of shocked that it was a top story on our local news for the entire area. And it strikes me as kind of odd that that was there. But like I said, some people use assault and harassment interchangeably. And I don't know if the stories differentiate harassment, assault. I've seen a few different stories that mention assault and some mention harassment. I don't know if it was 108 cases and those were combined, or if I'm not even sure if there's a legal difference. As far as I'm concerned, if I say something that offends someone, that's sort of on you. If something happened in your life and a word or a phrase causes personal discomfort, that's not my fault. And I try to be diplomatic, and I try not to offend people, but you never know where other people are coming from. You don't know their history. You don't, even if you know someone, even if you have grown up with someone, you likely do not know all of the nitty-gritty, shit in their closet, for lack of a better word. There are likely things that those people have done or have had done to them that no one knows about, or very few people know about, and they aren't, they don't wear that on their sleeve. People, that's just the way it is. But if I happen upon a word, phrase, something that offends a person because they went through something, that isn't on me. If I make you mad, that's not on me. I'm not mad. Anger is your own person. That makes what it is. Yes, I get angry. Yes, I get upset. There's a difference. Being upset is not being angry. Being angry I don't do that often. I'm pretty easygoing, pretty forgiving, pretty tolerant. I may not seem that way, but I am. So Uber has over 2 million active drivers and 108 cases of sexual assault / harassment. There again, I'm not sure if those were classified as only physical contact, like a driver made physical advances and that's assault, or if they have, because news agencies, all news agencies, it doesn't matter if it's a local paper or a local reporter or someone from CNN, they all sensationalize the stories, because there aren't a lot of interesting stories out there. I mean, there's a lot of news, but if there isn't some type of hook, like a song, if they, just like a song, if it doesn't have a hook, gotta stay online. If it doesn't have a hook, the song will be played, possibly, it might be popular, it might be #1, but it'll be forgotten. It has to have that hook, like R-E-S-P-E-C-T. That's a hook. You never forget that. So the news stories need a hook, because honestly, most people know this. If you don't, there's a news cycle. The news operates on a cycle. They know that they're a news cycle for a story, no matter how bad it is, how sensational it is, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a volcano erupting, whether it is, famine and, somebody bombed somebody and killed thousands of people. There's a news cycle, and that's the time period that it stays relevant in the general public's mind, that they stay interested. And it's 2 weeks, by the way. The news agencies operate basically, a news cycle is 2 weeks. A story, they assume, only stays relevant for a maximum of 2 weeks. And that's only the very best stories. That's only the very top, creme de la creme stuff, the juicy stuff. So, and yes, in 2 weeks, this will be out of the news too, unless something drastic happens to, kick it in the pants and take it up a notch. For instance, in 3 weeks, if they find out that Uber was lying or their sources were lying and it wasn't 108, it was 10,800, then, that'll be a story. But at this point, 108 cases. I know. You just want to go, oh my, 108 cases. Oh my God. Where are these drivers? Well, likely they aren't drivers anymore. Okay. But think about it. 108 cases. I have no idea how many rides that totals that Uber has given. But that is, Uber has 2 million drivers. 2 million active drivers in their system. I don't want to be a jackass, but 108 doesn't seem that bad, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You are going to have some guy, some girl driver that is going to misconstrue something from a drunk customer, maybe not a drunk customer, just misunderstand a signal or a word or a sentence, or some people are just naturally flirty. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing just because someone's flirty. It's just that you don't know what, if you flirt back, you don't know what that person's tolerance is going to be. Because most people who are flirty will throw out some open-ended things or some innuendo type stuff that's really not, it's kind of flirty feeling, you get that feeling, that vibe. So if you come back with something, it could be over the line for that person, and they could perceive it as harassment or advance. And that's why, I'm real careful when somebody, is like that. Or even if they come right out and say something, vulgar. Just because, and this goes to all guy drivers, okay? All heterosexual, well, no. All drivers, period. Do not. I don't care if a passenger, comes right out and asks you to see your privates. That does not give you permission to go the next step. I personally caution you, do not show them your privates, or do not do or allow what they are asking, and most certainly do not take it to the next level and assume that you can put hands on somebody or you know, make an advance, a physical advance. Don't do it. It's going to end badly, and it's going to end even if it's a drunk person, especially if it's a drunk person, because you know, people drink, and I like to tell people this, and it's enjoyable for me to, when I get to take someone to a bar and then get to pick them up and take them home, because I can tell you, I can't count the number of times that I have taken Mother Teresa to the bar and picked up Stormy Daniels. I mean, I'm telling you, people are, and Stormy Daniels is in the news. She was a porn star. Anyway, I'm just saying, the person you took to the bar is usually never the person you pick up. Which means, when they're sober, who knows what's going to happen. You know, they're certainly going to regret it, whatever happened, even if they initiated it. Some people are vindictive. It depends on what happened, as to whether or not, I mean, everyone's looking for someone to blame for their shortcomings. You know, being a drunk slut is not an attractive quality. Feeling whatever. I'm just saying, there could be perfectly, out of the minute number of, and I say minute because 108 accusations, I don't know if the outcome, if they were all found guilty, or if those are the final guilty cases, or if those are just accusations. 108. I don't know exactly. I do know that the news agency, as I said, like to sensationalize it and make it sound like one or the other. But I can assure you that, you know, they have no problem lying just a little bit to get your attention. So, with all that taken into consideration, out of 2 million drivers, 108 were either accused or whatever. They were cases. Which, a case is basically going to be probably a passenger making an accusation, whether formally to a police officer or to Uber or both. So, anyway, 108 out of 2 million drivers is really pretty small. Can't do the math in my head. But it's very small. What's acceptable? Because you know it's going to happen. As I said, it's going to happen. You are going to have those, even if they are innocent misunderstandings. 108 is a small number. Even if they were only physical advances, still a small number. It's a small number of cases compared to the number of drivers. But then if you look at the number of rides, I have no idea how many rides Uber has provided people. How many rides? I mean, 2 million drivers, active drivers. So seriously, I mean, the number has to be astronomical for the number of rides given, and each ride is an opportunity for something to go wrong. There's an opportunity for a sexual harassment case, or for that to happen. So it's, whatever. And I know this may or may not interest you, this topic. I don't know. I'm really just, I have my YouTube channel. I don't have enough subscribers to be worried too much about that. It's pretty much do it to get stuff off my chest. One of these days I'll get something off my chest that actually interests more than 6 or 7 people, or 1. I don't even think anybody's watching at the moment. Yep, the whole number is 0 there, goose egg. Anyway, then the story went on. Now, keep in mind, as I've mentioned in other videos, if you haven't watched any of my other ones, most of them are live, not all of them. But most of them are just live. I don't. If you haven't watched any of my videos, you're just tuning in. I know if you see this after my live, and this is the first video you watched, then everyone else that watches it may get some repeated information. But Uber and Lyft have only been available in this state for somewhere around 9 months, something of that nature. So what I'm about to say is really shocking to me. Assuming the news story was accurate. Because the news reported that locally there were 2 reported sexual harassment, abuse, whatever, cases against Uber drivers in Morgantown, West Virginia. Now, I don't know any details. I was just shocked that there was even one. We have been, like I said, we've been allowed to drive the platform for like 9 months, less than a year anyway. I don't remember the exact date. I need to look that up. But that there were 2 cases, that's shocking. I don't know really what to think. I do know that the majority of the rides in that particular town are drunk college teenagers, or, well, say teenagers, 18 to 28. Say 28, because there's a fair amount of people, getting at more advanced degrees or whatever. It's a medical school also. Some of those degrees are, 6 to 12 years. So anyway, I don't want to discount anyone if they were. I mean, the sexual harassment, sexual assault are both very serious accusations, and they are they're serious issues. If someone puts hands on you for whatever reason, whether it's sexual or not, that's nope. But I wish I could send this to every driver I do. But driving rideshare, especially rideshare, I can see there's a lot of rideshare drivers that are jumping over to Uber Eats and food delivery and stuff like that, and I can see why. Because the worst case scenario, you're going to spill a drink in your car or somebody's food. That's on you, the driver. You're not going to have to put up with all this stuff. You don't have to put up with crappy passengers and people who, you don't have to come up with conversation for that Domino's pizza. Just an example. Nobody cares if your car has dirt on the floors or bubblegum wrapper in the pocket of the door. So aside from the money, I honestly kind of wish Eats and Caviar and stuff like that. I wish that was here. It isn't. Uber and Lyft's it. I think Grubhub is in Morgantown, but that's it. It might be in Charleston, but that's way the other direction, hours away. So with that said, I don't know if anybody's watching. Hey, whoever you are, they left. Must have been an interesting forum. But it really surprised me that there were even 2 cases already in 9 months. Now, Morgantown is a pretty diverse city, and I mean that by anybody's standards, not just because it's in West Virginia. There's people, students from all over the world in Morgantown. People from all walks of life, I guess I should say. And so, well, anyway, out of 108, or even if you said 110, 2 of them were in Morgantown, West Virginia. Really? The entire state has a population of less than 2 million. There's more Uber drivers than there are the entire population of West Virginia. Or there are more Uber drivers across the United States than there are population of everyone who lives in West Virginia. It's just unfathomable to me. But I'm sure there are people who make false claims. I'm sure there are people, some of those people are misunderstood something. I'm sure that not all 110 or 8 of those were guilty. But if I could say one thing to every driver, rideshare driver, especially rideshare drivers, one thing that you absolutely do not get in the car without. Do not drive a single passenger without. Do not even think about it without it. What you need is a dash cam. Not just any dash cam. You need a dual dash cam, one for your out the road, out the windshield, and one back in the car. You need, it needs IR lights on it so that if you drive after dark, you'll be able to see the video inside the cab. And you need audio. It needs to record audio as well. It's my opinion, but if you're driving without a dash cam, you are playing with the devil. I mean, it should be unthinkable to drive one customer, one PAX, without a dash cam. It just isn't worth it. And generally what I do, and yes, it's a pain. It's not a pain to put a dash cam up, but it's a pain to have to sort through the video. Because it records stuff that it's recording me right now, and there's, you know, the only time it doesn't record is whenever after I'm stopped for a few minutes. It has parking mode that it kicks into, and unless there's movement around the vehicle, then it doesn't record. But there's a lot of files to go through to find the ones that have your rides, and those files I keep on my computer or somewhere. You never know when you're going to have to dig back through those archives to prove that, you know, the customer was full of shit, that it wasn't wrong. And then on the other hand, you might also find out that, oh, maybe that was a misunderstanding. Never hurts to go back, even. Never hurts to go back and look at those videos, or at least a few rides, you know. Go back and watch and listen to the PAX. Listen to your responses, and then listen to their reactions. Sometimes you'll hear things that you said or you responded to that you don't remember. I mean, it'll remind you, oh yeah, that's right, they were talking about football or whatever. But it's always good, you know. It never hurts to go back and watch those videos and watch yourself with the customer. But anyway, with the dash cam, not only does it protect you, you know, against lying customers or situations that were not as the customer stated. Hello, whoever's watching. Talking about the whole sexual assault harassment deal with the Uber thing. Hey, Shell, how you doing, girl? Hi, everyone. It's just me. It looks like you're the only one. I don't know if you caught anything earlier. That whole story was the top story on my local news about the sexual abuse, and it kind of shocked me that it was their top story. And you know, I was kind of went on a little rant about, you know, how news agencies do and things like that. We all know that, you know, they have to have a, you know, they have to have a headline and information that kind of blurs the lines enough for it to be interesting for certain stories. But what I was saying was, they say there's 108 cases of sexual assault / harassment. And I say assault / harassment because the word assault and harassment recently has I'm doing well, and you really, and the comments gone. I was driving. But people use those two words interchangeably, and they do it for dramatic essence. So I'm not sure if all those cases were actually physical sexual assault, or I haven't done that much research on it. But the fact that it was a top story on my local news kind of sent the hackles up, you know, what kind of thing. And what even struck me more was the fact that there's supposed to be 2 cases in Morgantown, and the fact that rideshare is so new here. So I'm kind of questioning some motivation, and I'm kind of questioning whether it's worth the hassle of risking being a rideshare driver in these times when so many people are so easily offended. Oops, I hit a button. But oh, I didn't mean to do that. I am not. Well, I am, but I'm tired of that ad. Anyway, I question, first of all, the number of sexual harassment cases compared to the number of drivers. If you work that out in a percentage, I don't know, I didn't. It's pretty low considering Uber says they have 2 million active drivers. 2 million active drivers, and then think about, you do have a point, yes, cameras are very important. Oh, you did catch that. Yes, absolutely. I just, you know, when I first started, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll get one. And then, you know, the more I thought about it, I thought, nah, I gotta have one. I shouldn't even be driving without it. It's, you know, 99% of the time, it's just hanging there. But that 1% when you need it or you want to go back and look at something, man, it is invaluable. But the number of cases compared to the number of drivers is pretty small. And then when you factor in the number of rides, which each ride is an opportunity for, you know, if a driver wanted to sexually harass or assault someone, look at how many rides there were. I have no idea. I didn't even look that information up. Has to be hundreds of millions of rides. So is it a problem? It isn't an epidemic. I mean, one case is a problem, but it isn't something that's running rampant on in the Uber drivers. But my thought is, and we don't have Uber Pool or Lyft line here, at least not yet. I hope we never do. But the number of women who take a Lyft line, you know, I've watched other people's videos and lives, and, you know, on a Friday night, Saturday night, that's all they get. They get pool and line. And these are women who have been out drinking and men who have been out drinking. And, you know, to me, I would be willing to bet that there's probably 100 times more instances of other passengers in that situation, either sexually harassing or sexually assaulting or even stalking other passengers. All right. Come on. This app, it's going to is what's going to happen. All right, well, let me get it. I don't know why that app does that, man. Every time it'll come up with that screen, it'll say tap to accept. I tap it, and it doesn't, and it just goes away. Half the time, it locks me out. And by the time I get back to the driver app, a stupid thing, I miss a ride. Seriously, I'm picking up Piper at the airport. Huh. That's strange. Well, it's not strange. It's just, it goes back to my, I used to be fascinated with airplanes, and one of the most, a very famous small aircraft from years back was a Piper Cub. That was, you know, so it's kind of funny for me to pick up someone named Piper at the airport. It's just, you know, my weird sense of humor. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if Piper is a guy or a girl. You know, if someone's dad was an aviation fanatic and named their kid Piper, because it's my coffee. I carry a thermos of coffee because honestly, no one can make coffee as well as I can. There's just a certain image that comes to my head when certain people's names come in. I think it just has to do with, you know, people you knew in the past and people you're familiar with and that kind of stuff. I don't mean to be rude or mean. Giving a little bit of fresh air shot with my Febreze. Man, I really wish they made Tide Febreze. They're just so I can joke around with some of these kids and ask them, you know, if they want to taste it with the Tide Pod challenge thing. All right, well, I'm gonna go. As you can see, YouTube Gamer Live does not play well with the Uber app. And it could be my carrier, Sprint, by the way. Or it could be the area. We really don't have a good solid cell phone coverage in this area. And I know, and people in big cities have the same problem. Yeah, it would. They, you know, they have problems when there's, you know, big buildings. Yeah, you know, you have big buildings that block cell signals in certain blocks and things like that. We have the same issue with mountains and trees. All right, you too, Shaw. I appreciate you jumping in. It makes the live stream a lot easier when I have someone to talk to and not just staring at Mr. Samsung. Maybe I'll catch you on your next live. By the way, I did catch one of your more recent videos there, at least part of it. I didn't get to watch it all. Kind of tough between working a full-time job and doing this and stuff around the house, that kind of stuff. But anyway, you have a good evening too. I think I'm gonna get off here if no one else is watching, just to free up my app. Okay. Oh, someone's still on. Is that you still use, Shell? Yeah, I wish I had enough subscribers to, you know, keep people on to chat back and forth and stuff. But, you know, I do it mainly as a, you know, I do this mainly for me. Gives me someone to vent to. My wife gets tired of hearing it. Wink. Oh, wonder how it's gonna be. Wonder how it's gonna be tonight. I may go somewhere else to drive tonight. I really want to drive. I'd really like to make some money. It really doesn't pay for me to be out unless I'm getting some rides, making the money. Okay, y'all. I am going to end it there. Went a little longer than I thought I was going to begin with, so y'all have a good evening. Stay frosty.